Unless you've been living under a rock, you probably know about the pandemic. It's pretty horrifying and still early days, with ample time to get much worse. Forget all that. I stumbled upon something much more sinister. There's a cult using the illness and community angst as a smokescreen. Read on and I'll tell you what I saw. Now, if I was in your shoes, I'd be wondering a few things. Who is this guy? Is there any proof? And why tell me and not the authorities? Well, firstly, I'm a nobody. I have no background in cults, no fancy university degrees, no stints in the army or emergency services. Just a regular Joe Schmo. Obviously, I'm not handing out my name or any details that might lead back to me. Posting this account is dangerous enough, and I really want to live. That leaves a question of proof, and I'm afraid I have jack shit of that too. Just a picture taken on my phone, itself several generations old with craptastic zooming functions. It could probably be debunked with the right gear and determination, so you'll just have to decide for yourself if I'm right or wrong. As for the authorities, there's not a lot of trust in them under this government. I've given them the same chance as you, but I doubt they'll listen to reason. These are the guys who deny climate change, abuse their office for partisan games, and practice their own version of fake news. Yeah, they'll act when the shit hits the fan and claim ignorance after the fact. The way I see it, if my account goes viral or gets noticed by the right people, maybe the fan won't get too shitty. Well, time to get into it. Down here in Oz, we've been running short of goods in our supermarkets, chemists, and other related shops. Toilet paper, aka dunny rolls, were the first thing to fly off the shelves, and you've probably seen or heard a few memes about it. Yeah, some are pretty funny, I'll give you that. Hand sanitizer was also quickly snatched up, and that also figures into my account. Canned goods, pasta, noodles, they're starting to go, but it's not really relevant here. Well, the thing about dunny rolls is that they take up a lot of space, so the shops don't keep a whole lot of them in reserve. It takes time to ship things from warehouses to supermarket shelves, and most of us are pretty dispersed these days, well, except for the city people. Lots of little supermarkets are tucked into the suburbs, so that's a ton of stores to share stock with. Beyond that, who knows how well the supply system is. When the Prime Minister says it's all fine, I'm not exactly filled with confidence. Yeah, this is the man who holidayed overseas while bushfires raged back at home. I'll give more credence to the experts. It was in a supermarket that I first got tangled up in this cult bullshit. Since they have surveillance, I'm not going to tell you which supermarket or where it was. Yeah, like I said earlier, I want to live, and that means staying anonymous. I was accompanying an old relative, well, my dad, basically doing the driving and the carrying. And yes, we were after some dunny rolls, along with 12 other items. It was flying off the shelves fast, and I noticed a group of people swooping in with empty trolleys. Yep, they had nothing else save a single bottle of hand sanitizer. The one good per person restriction had just come into effect. So seeing my chance, I scooped up the last pack of dunny rolls and beat a hasty retreat out of that aisle. My dad chuckled at our fush and called me a good boy. I must admit I did like the praise, because I don't get much of it from the old man. The group of hand sanitizer shoppers gave me the evil eye, and one of them even shadowed us for the rest of our shopping trip. He was a middle-aged man, nothing special to look at, and dressed in some pretty sad attire. If it came down to a fight, I'd favor my chances over him. Still, I didn't dare leave my trolley unattended for a second. There was something off about him, and his unassuming friends too. I was glad to pay for our goods and leave. Well, skipping ahead, Dad and myself returned home to his retirement village. Usually there were organized buses to take the residents out to the shops, but with things as they are, I felt I had the need to help out before things got worse. We had a beer and just talked about the hell this country was heading into. Dad said he'd never seen anything like this, save for the real bad natural disasters of the past. I told him not to worry, but to be careful. Older people seem more vulnerable to the pandemic, and I wasn't sure how much longer I'd be able to visit him. Lockdowns were being considered. I'd just have to call him on the phone if it came down to that. Well, a little while later, his phone actually did ring. I didn't catch who was on the other end of the line, but my dad was annoyed. When I asked him about it, he said that someone wanted to buy the toilet paper off him for double its price. And I got worried. How the hell did anyone know he'd just got some? None of the other residents were outside, mostly because it was safer to be indoors. Before I left, I made my dad promise to lock the door and refuse contact with any more weirdos. A few days later, I got the news that nobody wants to hear. Dad was gone. This man had shaped my life, and I'd never really gotten the chance to thank him for it, not properly. I just sat through the phone call, too wrapped up in my grief and the mountain of things I'd have to do. But I dragged myself back out to the retirement village before he could be taken away. Oh, even if Dad wasn't truly with us, I wanted to see him in the flesh. Plus, I knew the old bastard would want me watching over his things. The village staff were pretty good to me. Death was something they trained for. I filled out a form or two, made sure the old man kept his dignity, and called the relatives with the bad news. I also checked Dad's unit to remove any perishable food, clean up the place, and prepare for the removal of his personal effects. I'd need to come back with boxes for that, when I could muster the will. Oh, and the dunny rolls were gone. All of them. A sinking feeling hit me. When I asked around, one of my dad's neighbors said that they'd seen a man leave the unit with the toilet paper hours before I got the call. Sure as shit, the description fit that of the creepy supermarket shopper. Well, they said my dad died of natural causes. I really wanted some more tests done, but the rest of Dad's family didn't go for it. I could have kicked up a stink, but even I wasn't sure if I was thinking straight. Instead, I decided to return to the supermarket and find those creepy shoppers. It was a way to dodge things and cope with Dad's passing. Would getting back some dunny rolls really make a difference? Well, probably not. It was purely by chance that I saw the same group. I practiced a macho-sounding speech and considered recording it all on my phone. But when I saw them again, my courage just seemed to slip away. This time they had paper towels and disinfectant in their trolleys. I decided that it was too public for a confrontation and waited outside to tell them. The group had a minivan, which aren't all that common around here, and so following them was easy. Took down their rego plate, but well, with our current privacy laws, it wouldn't do me any good, unless I went to the cops. If I caught these guys up to no good, maybe then I could use it. I drove past the van as it pulled into a long driveway and found a place to park my own car out of sight. The property was sizable but pretty run down. If these guys turned out to be drug dealers, I wouldn't have been surprised. Of course, if they were dealers, it'd be even more dangerous to confront them. Well, I'd try to be careful. With all the junk and foliage, keeping out of sight looked doable. I crept closer to the house, avoiding windows and listening in to see how many people were there. The TV was pretty loud and I snuck a peek into the living room. Nobody was there. More creeping around followed and I hoped to hell they didn't have a dog out here. Eventually I tracked the group to a shed. It was a bit rusted but more or less intact. It also had a padlock on the door but wasn't currently locked. Well, I couldn't see the group yet but I heard noises and voices. Something like a chant. It was foreign, maybe Arabic, not that I know. I didn't even watch SBS. The urge to leave was damn enticing. In the end, I decided to hide in the yard and sneak a peek at that shed after the freaky people went back to the house. There was a really odd smell coming from a pile of compost, and I swear it had huge worms in it. Well, I'm no animal expert, but do green worms of that size even exist? Nearby bins were overflowing with empty dunny rolls. It took almost an hour of waiting, but I got my chance to see what they were hiding. And Jesus, it was something to see. Stacked within the shed were mummified bodies, at least 50 plus. The bottom ones were wrapped with some sort of linen and smelled oily, but closer to the top of the stack, The bodies were wrapped in torn bedsheets and smelled of sanitizer. There was a ton of discarded toilet rolls in a barrel, again with that oily smell. So presumably they'd been using those too. Well, I highly doubt it was used to wipe you-know-what, anyway. I took a quick picture on my phone of the mummies, since the video would drain my battery like nobody's business, and come out pretty shit. I also had to hide behind the pile of mummies to avoid detection. One of the creepy people dropped off more supplies to the shed. I swear that some of the mummified bodies twitched in response to my proximity. God, were they alive? Or was there something in them? After the cultist had gone, I booked it out of there, before someone decided to lock the shed. Well, screw getting my dad's dunny rolls back. Storing corpses without a license was surely something I could go to the cops with, but I opted to send them a letter instead. It contained a printed page of my findings and a copy of the mummy photo. Well, I didn't go back to the place and tried to get on with life. Dad had a funeral, thankfully a cremation, and then began the fun process of inheritance and sharing out his things. Well, I did keep half an eye on the news and I saw nothing about the cult. I looked up some mummification information on the web, but what I saw doesn't completely gel with it. And those green worms, I didn't find anything that matched them either. Clearly the cult was up to something different. Well, I could make shit up, link it to the pandemic maybe, but that'd be just me pulling your chain. God, I strongly considered returning there with a can of petrol to burn the contents of that shed into ash. But of course, I chickened out. It'd just be me versus half a dozen crazies. And what if I made things worse? No. Best course of action is to spread the word. Well, maybe you're disappointed in me. If so, that's a fair cop. But if someone strange offers to buy your dunny rolls, well, I'd take the deal, just to be safe. Hey there. Thank you so much for taking the time to drop by and listen to this story today. It really means a lot to me. I put a lot of time and effort into making these videos, so it's nice to know that there's someone out there listening. Do me a little favor, would you? Click that like button, leave a comment, and if you really feel like it, why not subscribe too? Okay, happy tales everyone. See you soon.